So you're feeling pretty good because you just finished the first English module and you're pretty sure you got 100%. And then, on the very first question of the second module, this happens.
I don't know that word.
Knowing how to choose the proper word based on context is one skill, but what the heck are you supposed to do if you don't know the words? In this video, I'm going to give you 4 tips for dealing with unknown words on the SAT. Tip number 1 is to not eliminate the words that you don't know, at least not yet. Let's use this passage as an example. So first thing you're always going to want to do is read and actually try to find some context. So go ahead and pause the video and do that. But for me, as I read through, the big part of this that stands out as a possible restatement. These details embody his artistic philosophy. These details would be the elaborate mosaics, flowing lines, and nature-inspired motifs. So the blank space needs to mirror embody his artistic philosophy. So I would say shown in, something like that. Shown in or seen in. So that would be my prediction. Now, as we go through, I'm trying to eliminate. Let's say I don't know what insensible means. I'm not going to get rid of it. I have to keep it. When I get to scrutinized by, let's say again, I don't know what it means. It's okay. We're going to keep it for now. And then I see D, complicated by. I'm very familiar with the word complicated. That does not work with shown in or seen in. So I'm going to say goodbye to choice D. We'll come back to this question in a second. All right, so let's say you've gone through your first step of elimination and you've only eliminated one answer, or you still have all 4 answers left. My second tip is to hold on to opposites. That is to say antonyms. More often than not, the correct answer is going to have an antonym or a near antonym somewhere in the answer choices. So let's say I'm working on this problem and I've already read, I'm looking for context, and I'm having a little bit of trouble because I don't know what prefiguring and entrenching mean, but I know that negating means sort of counteracting or making something null and void. And I know that substantiating is sort of providing support for or, bolstering something, supporting something. So I'm thinking these guys are sort of antonyms. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the 2 that I don't know because I notice we have a couple of opposites here. And in context here, pause the video if you need to look at the passage, but it's saying certain passages that were supposedly by this guy Sappho may have been interpolations, that is to say, little bits that were added in by later authors. So this would change our understanding of Sappho's authorship. So it would negate it, right? It would not support it. It would do the opposite of that, perhaps nullify it. Now that little antonym trick is super helpful, but only if you actually know the 2 words that are opposite from one another. So let's say you're going through elimination step, you don't spot 2 words that seem to be opposites. Now what are you supposed to do? At this point, you're going to need to rely on your knowledge of prefixes, suffixes, and word roots. So coming back to this question to demonstrate, if you remember, I was able to get rid of complicated by looking at my 3 remaining choices and trying to decipher what's going on. I notice a couple of things with choice A. First of all, we have in, and I know that in means not. So I'm thinking the first part of this is not. Then I see sense, and I know that sense has something to do with perceiving or feeling. So I'm going to say not, feel, /sense. And then the last part is able. And able, think about words like capable or edible. It means able to. If I put all of this together, I'm thinking this word's going to mean something like not able to feel or sense. Does that work with shown in or seen in? No, in fact, that kind of seems like the opposite. If you are unable to sense or feel his philosophy, that's the opposite of it being shown in or seen in his philosophy. So using word roots such as sense and prefixes and suffixes such as in and able, or in this case, able, I can get rid of choice A. Now, this is definitely a skill that you need to develop, and if you have little or no knowledge of common prefixes, suffixes, and word roots on the SAT, I've actually got a free resource for you that's going to help you out. Just use the link in the description to download that for free. Finally, let's talk about what happens when you are down to a couple of answers and you still don't know one or both of the words. Another issue that my students run into is they think to themselves,
the SAT is real fancy. they're going to want me to choose the fanciest word available.
That's not how the SAT works. In fact, I would even consider some of these more advanced words to be distractor answers because a lot of students aren't going to know them, so they're just going to throw it in there as a completely out of place answer, relying on the fact that a lot of you guys just won't know the definition. All right, so we've eliminated 2 answer choices now. I'm feeling kind of nervous because I've got 2 answer choices that I don't know, but then I remember, ooh, I actually know the word scrutiny. A phrase comes to mind, faced scrutiny, and I know that scrutiny is sort of like judgment. So would I want judged by? Would that go with shown in or seen in? Absolutely not. So now I have confidently eliminated 3 answer choices, and even though I don't know what B means, I know it has to be my answer because all the other answers are now not an option. And indeed, manifest in means like shown in or seen in. Something that is manifest is clear and obvious. And if I would have thought back to history class, I might have thought about manifest destiny. All right, now let's consider this question right here. As usual, we need to get some context first, so pause the video and take a look. But the big thing that I'm noticing is these methods were gradually replaced by, standardized approaches. So based off of that, my prediction is going to be out of date. All right, now moving on to my answer choices. Defunct. At first, I don't recognize it, but then I remember like not functioning. This means that something is no longer functioning, no longer in use. So that would fit out of date. Arcane, I actually end up remembering because I read fantasy and I remember arcane symbols and spells, and arcane basically means mysterious. So that is actually not going to line up with out of date. I would get rid of arcane. Let's say I don't know what ubiquitous is. I don't even know how to pronounce it. So I'm going to keep that one. And then extraneous. Luckily, my teacher was just lecturing me last week about how I need to remove all the extraneous information from my essay. So basically the stuff that is irrelevant and extra. So irrelevant sort of lines up with out of date, but it's a little bit too extreme. Just because something that's out of date doesn't mean it's completely irrelevant. So if I'm left with defunct and this word I don't know, since defunct is the word that I do know, now it's okay to go ahead and choose that since I was able to confidently keep it around. So my answer is going to be A, defunct. And indeed, ubiquitous means sort of like ever present. You can see it everywhere. Think about cell phones. Who do you know without a cell phone? Nobody. Cell phones are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. And I know what you're thinking.
But Robert, what the heck? What if I don't know both words? What if there's 3 words left over that I don't know?
Unfortunately, the words in context questions on the SAT are just a little bit luck of the draw, depending on the vocabulary that you are familiar with, and depending on your comfort level with prefixes, suffixes, and word roots. The rest of the reading section, however, is a lot easier to nail if you have the proper strategies. And if you happen to be around tomorrow, I'm going to be hosting a free live webinar designed for students who are aiming for a 700 or higher in the English section. If you're watching this video the day it goes live, go ahead and join me for that. Otherwise, the replay is going to be available on my channel.